Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. If you're looking for what you want to be doing to be most productive in both early access and in the official launch for The War Within for gearing up, this video is for you. For reference, I got a ton of information from this guide by Larius. It's going to be linked in the description down below. They did an excellent job making it, and it kind of breaks it down on a week-by-week basis. And so we're going to summarize it really quick as to here's what you need to do. For early access launch, the things you want to make sure you're doing right now in the video game. First, when you open up the map, once you complete your campaign, you level a character to max level, you're getting access not only to your world quests that are around the area, but you're also getting these items that are having the little horn around it. It's Theater Troop in the Isle of Dorn, and in the Ringing Deeps, it's called the Awakening the Machine. In Hollowfall, it is over here, and it's called Spreading the Light. All of these different ones give you options for some of the adventurer track gear. And I think I have one of them right here where it's like 577 gear and it can be upgraded into like the 580s, 590s from there. So these are some of the early like gear options that you're going to have at your disposal. You can also buy gear, as the Dark Moon decks are not that expensive at all. I know for my own guides, I think I was originally suggesting, I want to say it was Vivacity. And I think it was like working off different spell schools, and it was like way too overpowered, and so they nerfed the bejesus out of that. So I think some of the big ones that you care about right now, especially as a healer, are things like Ascension. But basically, you can just buy these for like raw eye level. They're very cheap. They're not very expensive at all, and you can make sure you're instantly getting the eye level that you need. Now, the really important thing when it comes to all these zones is you want to make sure you're watching for any of the special assignments. These are like weekly big world quests that you can get done. I did one in the Isle of Dorn, and what it gave me is it says the first 2 weekly caches give you a piece of adventurer gear, which is where I got that last item from, and the first 4 give you a restored coffer key. Now, these restored coffer keys are basically giving you extra loot from a bountiful delve, and you can see which of the ones are bountiful delves. I think they have them in the Isle. Yeah, right here with like Fungal Folly. It contains a bonus treasure that you can be opened with a restored coffer key. You do not want to actually use your coffer key until the 3rd week, because at the moment, your delves are capped at 3s, which means if you used a coffer key, it would be capped at the reward level of a 3. And so you want to hold on and you want to farm all of the possible restored coffer keys that you can. There's even quests like this with Great Pyre, which are giving you basically shards that you can turn into a coffer key. So this gives you a quarter of a key, right? So you want to make sure you're doing all of these world quests, because it's going to be very important, not only for the gear reward when you can do the 8s, which is going to be September 10th or 11th on the Heroic Week, but it's also, I believe it's going to be helping out with your weekly vaults. And so you could get the best great vault available as you enter Mythic Week and get a 616 eye level piece to be able to assist you. So right now, what you want to care about is basically knocking out world quests that are offering you coffer key shards. Most of the Lamplighter supply satchels I got was like pets and like resonance crystals, which is basically just giving you like cosmetic items that you can have. So really the important ones are going to be the flight stones, which are now called Valor Stones. But you could also continue doing all of these activities because they're also going to give you reputation. This is a bit more grindy if you really, really wanted to sweat it up. But the Renowned Quartermasters are giving you 584 pieces at Renown rank 7. I think for some of them it's 6, but this one's 7. This is, like I said, more work, more effort if you really wanted to sweat your way through it, but not that huge of a deal. The special assignments, I already did one of them in the Isle of Dorn. There's another one here called Shadows Below. They require you to do a couple world quests first before you can actually access them. But with those, I got a restored coffer key from them, and I also got the carved Harbinger crests. And so the carved crests, you also want to make sure you're holding on to and using them basically in the like pre-heroic week to make sure you're upgrading your gear as best as you can. Or you can start saving them for when you actually hit heroic week to sort of like juice up specific slots. I think that's probably going to be what I end up doing, and kind of burning them on like good value trinkets, because at least at the moment, and they're doing a lot of tuning for trinkets and embellishments, so your BIS for your class is almost certainly going to change quite a bit, so just keep on refreshing the guides. What I'm probably going to try to do with my carved crests is I'm probably going to try to juice up my trinket slots and juice up like my weapon slots. If you're not familiar with the crest system, whenever you upgrade these gear pieces, you can see on my like Bellarellos, it's a 12 of 12 or whatever, right? If you have like, let's just say a garbage trinket, and we can even use this 577 I have right here. If the effects are no good, you could still juice it up. And then when you do farm M0s or you do farm M plus and you get the trinket you actually want, if both slots for trinkets or both slots for rings or just the boot slot that you have is already upgraded, the only thing it requires to upgrade that better item is Valor Stones. And so you only have to spend the crests basically one time per slot. So if you juice one trinket slot, you have to juice another trinket slot to that equal sort of eye level. And then any other future trinkets you get can automatically be upgraded to that level only at the cost of the Valor Stones. So how are you farming the Valor Stones? Well, part of it is from the world quests, but also when heroic dungeons are going to be available, I believe those are also going to be awarding you both the weathered crests and lots of Valor Stones. And so you're basically going to be farming those a really, really high amount just to make sure you're sort of like maxing out all of your characters and making sure that you're as prepared as you can be for when Mythic 0 drops. One of the things I wasn't sure about is that at the moment, there's no world quest that I've been able to see in Aj-Kahet. And so this is an area I'd also keep an eye out for. It might just be during like the official launch week that this area is going to get populated with more of the world quests. That's something, again, to sort of keep an eye out for each day, where the special assignments are going to be at. I'd imagine there's really only going to be 2 each week, since at the moment we only have them in the Ringing Deeps. And then, like I said before, in the Isle of Dorn. But keep an eye out for those, as well as the Theater Troop quests, the Awakening the Machine quests, and of course, the Spreading the Light. All of these are going to be helping you get some of those gear options that you can have on hand. And I haven't seen it yet, but you might also get like some of like the weathered crests, some like the smaller crests on hand to help you with the gearing process. Once the heroic week actually does end up dropping, that's when you can do normal and heroic raid, and you can spam Mythic Zeros on a daily lockout. And this is the area where you really want to make sure you're like setting aside time to be able to grind. This is going to be the focus on like getting the optimal trinket setups, getting the optimal ring setups, fixing your gear, adjusting your eye level, and making sure that you have everything covered. But it's also going to cost a crazy amount of Valor Stones in order to be upgrading all of your gear. And just farming dungeons on your own at Mythic 0 is probably going to leave you gasping for oxygen, basically gasping for Valor Stones. And so this is the area where preemptively farming the Valor Stones early on is going to make the biggest difference for you, just to be able to upgrade all of the pieces that you're going to be able to need. If there's any items where you could like open them later and get flight stones or Valor Stones from it, you might also want to be pooling those and holding on to them for later. That was a very popular strat in Dragonflight, so that you can then use them a little bit later on, because all you can really hold is 2,000 Valor Stones. And any items that award them are kind of letting you go above the cap and kind of letting you cheat a little bit that way. Like I mentioned on Heroic Week, that's where you're going to spam Mythic Zeros, and that's also where you're going to be looking for those Tier 8 delves, the bountiful delves, and that's where you want to start using your restored coffer keys, because that's going to give you the best vault reward when you enter into Mythic Week, giving you the 616 items. So you want to make sure you're pooling as many of those as you can together. If you're not familiar with it, I don't think that they show the vault here just yet, but basically there's going to be 3 categories that you have. You're going to have a raid category, a Mythic Plus category, and like a delve / open world category. And so since obviously you're only capped at heroic raid, you're capped at Mythic 0 dungeons, doing those high-end delves is actually going to be very valuable, because it's going to give you the best vault when you enter into Mythic Week. When you enter into Mythic Week, obviously, the Mythic Raid, doing up to 10s for Mythic Plus for the vault reward, although I believe you can just spam 9s for the highest gear reward, are all going to be huge. And again, having that like capped Valor Stone stuff going into each week is going to be super insanely valuable. So what I'm basically going to do is any items that are going to drop Valor Stones for me, I'm only going to use them when I kind of just like run out. Because if I'm doing some kind of other activity that also is awarding Valor Stones, then I'll be able to get as many as I need to farm the items I want. I'll be fine. And then if there's times where I'm really trying to gear before Raid comes out or high-end Mythic Plus, it's going to be on making sure I have those Valor Stones, juicing up the specific slots, like your trinkets, like your weapons, that are quick to upgrade. And if you get a better item, it's not going to cost you even more crests or something like that on top of it to upgrade it further. Also, when Mythic Raid drops is when you're going to use those sparks of, I believe they're called Sparks of Omen. Where are they? Yes. So the Parks of Omen are what you're going to be using to upgrade your gear and your crafted gear and creating like the highest level crafted gear possible. While it's still, there's a lot of tuning they're doing to trinkets and embellishments right now. So what you might want to craft is going to change. It almost certainly will change. So when it comes to guides and like my personal guides I write for Holy and Disc, they're going to change a lot. Right now, people are talking about the binding of binding, which is like a ring that you give stats to somebody else. We'll see what ends up happening, what it actually is going to be. But you only want to use those when you have the highest level crests, which I believe are called the Gilded Crests. That is what is the new aspect crests that you can have wherever they are. Yeah, they're like the high big ones. So when you have those, that's where you're going to want to make sure you're crafting the highest level possible for whatever your BIS craft is going to end up being. And so you want to hold on to those crafts and hold on to those crests until you know what it is you're going to craft. Last thing is that there is the Spelunker Supreme for the War Within Season 1. This is going to be giving you the Mark of Spelunker Supreme, which is going to be giving you the tier set item for free. So you can either get 1600 in PvP, 2k in M+, or defeat Queen Ansarek on Heroic difficulty. These are going to give you an item that you can spend on your tier set bonuses. And so when the Heroic raid drops is when you can actually start earning these, which means that even if you're not much of a raid player, trying to get Ansarek down on Heroic really early on is actually going to be a pretty big goal. Or, of course, doing it when the Mythic Week drops and you can start spamming Mythic Plus for it. The bright side about Mythic Plus is that it rolls all your affixes together, and so you don't have to wait like potentially 2 weeks like you had to in previous expansions. This is going to be super important because you want to make sure you're getting your tier set as fast as you can. For all the additional details, make sure you're checking out Larius's guide in the description down below. It'll be the first thing I put right there. Huge thank you to him for putting all this guide and information and stuff like that together. If you want to support him, make sure you hit him up. He's got a Venmo link there as well, which is awesome for doing all of this work for us. So check it out. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you all enjoyed it. I'll catch y'all next time.